As we celebrate International Women's Day March, now the United Nations has designated the year 2024 theme as Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress with a focus on addressing economic disempowerment, while the campaign theme for this year is Inspire Inclusion. Today on the program, we'll be looking at some women in different walks of life, their goals, motivation, inspiration, inclusion, and also their courage on how they balance it all to stay above in a place of it is a man's world. I am Jumai Manson. I'm being joined by my first guest, Ramatu Kerebi Mina, and she is a media consultant with over 20 years in journalism. She worked with Concord Press under the maritime decks and with Radio Jigawa. She relocated to Lagos and worked with Channels Television as a pioneer staff and went into corporate communications as a pioneer staff of British American Tobacco and worked as a communications manager. Don't go anywhere. Inside Today continues shortly. You're welcome back to Inside Today. I'm so excited to have my first guest, no other person than Mrs. Ramatu Mina Kerebi. And she was a presenter in the weekly news documentary program tag Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, and that plays today on NTA Network, AIT, and of course, Channel. She worked with an online media outfit affiliated with the African Union as a general manager and later ventured into media consultancy services in production, exclusive interviews, organizing press briefings, and releases competing events, covering editing of events, social media management, and publishing, to mention a few. All right, now, Mrs. Ramatu Mina Kerebi, are you with us at this moment? Mrs. Mina? All right, the media consultant, Ms. Ramatu Kerebi, is yet to join us via Zoom. Let's quickly go on a quick break. The program Inside Today continues shortly. Don't go anywhere. You're welcome back to Insight today on Global Television. Today we're looking at International Women's Day when it has to do with inclusiveness, being inclusive in every area of life when it comes to business, governance, and it comes to women in general being included in all the promotions, when it comes to informations, when it comes to holding offices in our society where we find ourselves. And that is why this year's theme has to do with inclusiveness of the United Nations. Now, talking about it, we'll be looking at some various women in every walks of life. Like I will be joined by Mrs. Karibi Mina, who will be coming on to speak with us on what this particular theme means, women in various areas and works of lives also. Let's quickly go on a quick break. Insight continues shortly. You're welcome back to Insight today. Apologies for that slight delay trying to get our guest online. And I am being joined by Mrs. Ramatu Karibi Mina. Good afternoon, Mrs. Ramatu. How are you doing today?
Hello, Jemima. Good afternoon.
And then we're talking about International Women's Day, which is celebrated every March. I know it's for tomorrow, March 8th, but we're doing it earlier because women should be celebrated every day, don't you think?
Yes, women should be celebrated every day. The society cannot evolve without a woman. So a family unit cannot evolve without a woman. A nation itself cannot evolve without a woman. So celebrating women every day, it's not too much. It's not too much.
Now, of course, the United Nations has designated the year 2024 theme as Invest in a Woman, Accelerate Progress, with a focus on addressing economic disempowerment, while the campaign theme for this year is Inspire Inclusion. What's your take on that quickly when you hear Inspire Inclusion?
Well, the thing is that women are very critical in any society, in any either family, either in the society, in the workplace, in the nation, and as such, they need to be included. They need to have a stake. They need to be makers in the boardroom. They need to have a say, because women are mothers, they're molders of destiny, and they're molders of the nation itself. And so women have been relegated to the background. That voice that we need to have. And so this year, the United Nations is looking at women coming out to take critical positions in governance, in the career, in family, in the society at large, so that they can also make and take decisions that will impact the larger society.
Now, Mrs. Ramato, now looking at areas that's when it comes to careers and you know, places where men are dominated, those areas, what's your take on how women tend to stand firm and also be a part of those careers that men are being, where men dominate?
Now, if you look, for instance, and if I ask you, Jumai, if you look at the ratio between the men and the women in your office, which is more? Exactly. Thank God. If you look at the decision makers, the directors, how many women do you have?
The men are more.
Organization. Exactly. So that's what we're saying. You see, women need to be protected in the professions that they belong to. They need to be considered excellently well. And because it's believed that it's a man's world and, you know, the men dominate the space, they take critical decisions that considerate to women in running affairs. And says, "Oh, my child is sick. She might be laid off if she has a boss that cannot tolerate that."
But Mrs. Ramato, I want to ask a question. I'm sorry if I have to interject a bit. But don't you think men right now accept the fact that women should be included when it comes to decision making in our society that we find ourselves? And of course, trying to promote the women at this point. Some women have actually failed other women when they hold positions, and the sort of behavior pattern they perform when they're in office. Don't you think that has a part to play when it comes to the inclusiveness, when it comes to women in decision making in our society that we find ourselves, especially in governance?
With all due respect, Mrs. Manson, well, if you're talking about the Betta Edu's case and some other cases that you've heard, Odukonjo-Iweala, that has done excellently well in Nigeria and in the international front, and she's still doing excellently well. In a crate of eggs, there must be some bad ones, but doesn't mean that all the crates of eggs, the eggs in the crates are all bad. So if you don't, you see, the thing is, we have men who also are corrupt and have run this country down. Nigeria is going to a phase because of bad governance. Who were the people at the helm of affairs? Men. So because some women came in and they were played out and they were tagged as being, you know, corrupt. So everyone is not. And let me make you understand something, Mrs. Manson. Names of men were mentioned in the Betta Edu's case, but what happened to them? Nothing, because it's believed it's a man's world. But if women come together and say you can't treat a woman like this, other men were mentioned, same judgment should be given to them. Then women will be protected. So we need a good percentage of women up there to take decisions. Unfortunately, people taking decisions on Betta Edu are men. So if we have women that are also looking at the cards played on the table and saying, no, this is how it should be, and there's a good contention, of course, women will be protected when they get up there and they will not be tagged as corrupt. Issues will be looked at squarely and fairly.
Okay, now let's look at this critically. We know House of Reps, when it comes to governance, when it comes to women in career, the home front, there's this mindset that is placed on women. There's this burden that women should be the ones like gatekeepers when it comes to ensuring the home functions well. Now, how can a woman actually balance all of these things when she's talking about inclusiveness when it comes to decision making, being in authority, being in governance, and still holding her career at the same time? Do we expect...
Let me say something. One thing that God has given women is to be multitasking. Women are multitaskers. They can multitask easily than men. I will tell you that for free.
But you know what, Mrs. Bina? Sorry, I want to say something. I'm sorry. Let me just interject. Someone said, I brought someone on the program, Insighted, and she says, one must surely suffer. When you try to balance all of these things, when it comes to career, when it comes to you being in politics and governance, the home front, one must surely suffer. Now, how true is that? When
I do not believe that. I do not agree with that. One will suffer if you're a lazy woman. That is it. But if you know how to plan your program yourself, rise up early to put your home in order, cook your soups and put things in order during the weekend to make sure that, you know, when the children come, they have what to eat. It's already in place. I left my home this morning. I made sure everything is in order. My husband knows what to do. I mean, you know, I've kept what he needs.
But some women do not have that levity when it comes to their husbands being understanding, when it comes to a woman, or like now your husband is understanding. Most women don't have that luxury. So how do they balance it all?
If a man will permit his wife to go out there to look for a means of livelihood, is an understanding man. So the woman should not take it for granted, and she should ensure that the husband's understanding is not rubbished by making the home to suffer. And you know what? Sometimes when a woman is out there looking for what to put on the table alongside her husband, and maybe she's talked down, you know, by her boss, when she goes home and shares it with the husband, he comforts her and gives her the strength to go on because he has permitted her to work. He has permitted her to go out there. Now, some women might say they just did it even if their husband did not agree. No. They didn't just do it. There is an amount of permission given by the man. And definitely, that kind of a man is an understanding man, and she should also play her part. A woman has a role to play. She should play her part so that they don't suffer. And, you know, it becomes easier when the children start growing. She can give them roles, and then the burden on her is reduced.
All right, Mrs. Ramatomina, now you're a media consultant. You've been with Channels Television as a pioneer staff, British American Tobacco, you were the intercommunication manager, British American Tobacco, talking about NDDC, the program that plays on NTA, AIT. You've done so many things. You're a media consultant, media extraordinaire. You've done a lot of things. How were you able to balance all of these things? There's so much. When I read your profile, I was wowed by it. How were you able to manage and balance it all and still stay focused?
Well, luckily, my children today are all grown. They are working already. They are working class ladies. But there was a time when they were very little, and I had to also join forces with their father to put food on the table. And you know, we had to walk it through. And that's what I'm saying. When a man gives you permission, he's an understanding man, and you also must not allow your role to suffer. You must be able to put things in place. And to the glory of God, I served in my profession to show you that, you know, and today, as I said, my daughters are working. They are working class. They're done with the university. They're working class. So God helped me to build a very, very productive family to the glory of God. And they sometimes you might think that the stress is a bit much. It's just for a little time. As I said, when the children start growing, you start assigning roles to them. I don't really believe in having mates. And you can run your home effectively if you can plan yourself. It's all about planning. And that's what I'm saying. You know, if women are well, it's not that I didn't have challenges in the office. I mean, sometimes when I say my child is, I remember when I was sent, when I was in British American Tobacco, I was sent on an assignment to Agua-Are, and, you know, to one of the tobacco farms in Agua-Are. I was sent to Iseyin to do a program, and my daughter was in the hospital. My daughter was hospitalized, and I had to leave that day. What do? It's already planned, and a sickness just came. Luckily, I had to call on my mom, who stood in for me. So there's some you must pay some price, but at the same time, you know, you have to look at what you can do best. If you think that your job is tasking, you can opt for another, and I did. And when I saw that was so tasking for me, my children actually need me, I opted for another. And I moved to another job. I didn't stop working. I moved to another job that they were more understanding and they could work with my time. So we have the luxury of looking at what to do. I also did business by the side. Yes, I did. Oh, yes, I did.
Oh, wow.
So you need to look at, yes, you need to look at, I was going to Cotonou. I'll go to Cotonou, get some wrappers in my car, go to the banks and all of that, on my way. So my car was my shop. As I go to the office, branch 1 or 2 during break time, So the thing is, just look at what works for you and then juggle it. But I don't expect everyone to just cross her legs and just stay at home, because the burden is too much on the man. And at the same time, try to make your bosses to understand. If they see you're good in your job, oh my goodness, they will permit you as much as you want if you're good in what you do.
Now, I want to ask a question. Now, the theme of this year's International Women's Day, Inspire Inclusion, do you think it has or will inspire inclusion when it comes to women in business, in politics, in the corporate world with this particular theme?
Now, if we look at the theme if we look at the complete theme, it's looking at empowering women. How can they be empowered? By including them in key decisions, including them in policy making, including them in policy implementation, including them in running the organization, including them in being in equity, looking at, being balanced in how you treat them with their opposite sex. So the thing is that, yes, you cannot empower a woman if there is no inclusion. And there are roles definitely that women play in organizations. And that is why there's something like HR, for instance. You need a woman to run HR because women are more, they are more, how do I put it? They're more humane. Yeah, they're more humane. They have the ability to carry their staff along. Some people say, oh, women bosses are tough. Because we're perfectionists. We like to do things to the later and all of that. Aside from that, we are very humane. So, if we're looking at the world itself is looking at empowering women, because poverty is real. You can't leave it on the man alone. So the men at the boardroom, the men at the decision-making table should bring in more women to sit with them in taking decisions in a bid to make things easier for the women. There are some organizations that have a nursery for their pregnant, their
staff.
The women that are, that have babies. Some organizations do that, yes, because that's inclusion. They understand what the women are going to, and for them to be effective and their hearts to be, they have a nursery in the organization. So organizations are going overboard to put some things in place in terms of inclusivity, to make women more comfortable, by looking at their challenges that can affect productivity in their career. And when you give a woman a task, she does excellently well when she has a thriving atmosphere to perform. So it's very important that we look at this. Organizations go back to their drawing boards, look at how, what to put in place to help women perform excellently well.
Now, Mrs. Mina, at this point, before I let you go, now, how does this theme, inclusion, reflect current challenges or achievements for women globally?
It's a global phenomenon, but some other countries are masters in inclusion. Today, the chancellor of the German chancellor is a woman. We have the first female vice president in America. We have a woman who was voted in by men, as at the helm of affairs in World Bank, and a Nigerian for that matter, an African. So other countries are, already towing that line of including women in policy making and in running their systems. Africa is lagging behind because we are saddled with that male-dominated ideology. Look at the House of Reps. Look at how many women can you pick, and these are decision makers. So it's a global phenomenon. We are getting there, and we will get there by God's grace.
All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. Ramatu Karibie-Mina, she is a media consultant with over 20 years in journalism, and she works with Concord Press under the Maritime Decks and with Radio Jigawa, relocated to Lagos and worked with Channel Television as a pioneer staff, went into corporate communications as a pioneer staff of British American Tobacco, and worked as the communications manager, presenter of a weekly news documentary tagged NDDAG, Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, which plays on NTA network, AIT, and channels. She works with an online media outfit affiliated with the African Union as a general manager, and later ventured into media consultancy services, covering production of documentaries, exclusive interviews, organizing press briefings and releases, competing events, covering editing of events, social media management, and publishing, to mention a few. Thank you so much for being a part of the program today, and happy
Jumai, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Have a great day. Thank you.
And you too.
Bye-bye. All right, let us quickly go on a quick break. Up next, I will be speaking with my other guest and calling all the way from Kenya, Mrs. Nana Wanja. She is going to be on the program via online. Don't go anywhere. Insights Today continues shortly. Stay tuned. Sound. All right, you're welcome back to the program Insight Today. Still looking at International Women's Day that has to do with invest in women, accelerate progress, and of course, inspire inclusion. And my second guest, all the way from Kenya, Mrs. Nana Wanja, is an impact Pan-African leader. She is the Vice President of Commonwealth Business Women Africa. She is currently championing the 1 Million Girls Coding Program being implemented in 22 countries in Africa in partnership with Codris Africa, Safaricom, and Google. She is on a mission to close the gender digital divide. Last year, the Pan-Africa Chamber of Commerce appointed Nana Wanja to head the Chief Gender Office for Africa. Her role involves mainstreaming gender in the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce programs and operations. She is instrumental in the establishment of women entrepreneurship centers across Africa. Nana is passionate about women empowerment through social and economic advancements. She is the founder of Power Women International. Good afternoon, Mrs. Nana Wanja. Are you here with me on the program? Oh my goodness! Happy Women International Day. Oh my God, it's great to have you on the program today.
Happy International Women's Month. This is our month, the entire month.
Yes, it is. It's our month. Oh wow, you look, gosh, you're still the same. I'm so wowed by, wow, is it, we're celebrating and you look so good, really.
Well,
all right, happy International Women's Month. Of course, March is a month that we celebrate women, because women should be celebrated, don't you think?
I believe so. And it's great that we do have the International Women's Day and month. But when you think about a woman, when I think about my mother, when I think about my grandmother, and all the women who have been in my life, raising me, supporting me, really, you celebrate a woman every day. If you are breathing on this earth, you celebrate a woman with every breath you take. And that's my opinion.
women are not celebrated enough? Do you think we're just celebrated only March when it comes to March, the month? Do you think it's enough?
Well, I think we should take it upon ourselves, myself, yourself, and all the women and young girls we are mentoring, to make it a culture to celebrate oneself. We shouldn't wait for somebody to pat us on the back and to celebrate us. If they do, then of course we appreciate them. But as a woman, as a young woman, as an older woman, please, let's get into the habit of celebrating ourselves, because what we do is enormous. From the time a woman wakes up and sees her family is put together, then she moves on to do her duties and look after the community. By the time she gets home, she's depleted. So let's celebrate ourselves every day.
Now, let's look at the theme for International Women's Day, inspire inclusiveness. Do you think women are sidelined when it comes to governance, making decisions, when it comes to, let's take a look at corporate organizations. When you look at board members, you find that is male dominated, women are few. When it comes to governance, when it comes to decision making, women are few. Do you think women are not given that opportunity to be included when it comes to areas of decision making and being a part of governance? We're not recognized enough.
I agree absolutely. The data does not lie. The data is very clear. We are underrepresented in politics, in the highest offices. We are underrepresented in religious institutions, in academia, in boardrooms. Yes, you talked about the board and governance. We are underrepresented. But that's why it is very, very important for us to focus on educating the woman, capacity building for the woman, educating the girl child, so that we are able to fill these gaps. It is not a question of just meeting the statistics of having 50% or 1/3 allocated to women to sit on the board. It's not just to put a female figure there. We want to put women in those positions that are competent and are able to represent the women and the young people effectively. So we have a task to train, to educate, to ensure that the girl child not just enters this education system, but actually stays in the education system and rises to higher education and further education. That is the only way we can effectively demand the seats at the table, whether it's at the policy level or leadership level or corporate, but we must capacitate. We must build capacity for our women and young people.
When you say we must build capacity for our women, do you think some of the women that we have in the forefront representing us, do you think they're doing an excellent job when it comes to being our mouthpiece? For instance, women supporting women. You know, there's a saying that goes, some women tend to pull some women down. I spoke to some friends of mine in an association when it comes to Military Wives Association, and they said, okay, because this theme says inclusiveness, we want to try together to bring women together. Let us start with women forming a force, coming together first, and realizing that we can actually lift ourselves so that people can take us seriously. Because the other gender, they feel women. There's always chaos. There's always jealousy. There's always strife. They love pulling themselves down when it comes to, it's better, one would prefer, I am fit for that role when she is not. Now, in all of this, what's your take when it comes to women pulling themselves down instead of promoting themselves and uniting themselves when it comes to forming that alliance as one?
I will go back and just say that men are equally competitive. they are equally emotional, they also experience jealousies. And I don't see us standing up and saying they are jealous of one another, and at any opportunity they will get, the competition is real. They will tear each other down. But when it happens in the arena of women, we are called emotional. You know, all of a sudden, jealousy and competition is something that is shouted about. Competition is healthy. That is how we get to build grit. That is how we get to get experience. That is how we get to rise, you know, and build stamina. So competition is healthy. Now, I will use a personal example when you ask the question, are women pulling each other down? If I look at my life, I have had 80% of women who have mentored me, people who have mentored me who are women, 80%, 20% men. Women who have guided me, women who have opened doors for me, women who have opened the door and put a chair at the table and mentored me through situations I would never have been able to navigate myself. So I honestly do not believe that women pull each other down. I believe that there is healthy competition amongst women as there is amongst men, and it should be encouraged. Let us fight fair in these competitions, but it should not be viewed that because I am fighting for the same seat as yourself, all of a sudden we are enemies. No, we are not. We are in competition, and competition is healthy.
All right, Mrs. Nana Wanja, I want to put you on the spot. I want to put you on the spot. I know you're the Vice President, Commonwealth Business Women Africa. I know that's not a small role, but how are you able to balance it? You know, women are, in quotes, are meant to hold the home front when it comes to family, when it comes to the husband, when it comes to children, when it comes to, you know, they say women are the drivers, they're your school teachers, they multitask. Our first guest says God has created women to multitask. Now, how have you able to juggle all of these achievements? Your profile is very long. I had to find a way to summarize as much as I can, but I think I didn't really, I hope I did justice to it. But how are you able to keep that balance, to keep afloat when it comes to a working class and attaining such height in life? How did you do it?
As I said, I had excellent role models. My mother, my grandmother, my aunties. I was raised by a very, very strong female leaders, both in the family as well as at the corporate level. So I had great examples. Now, when you ask the question of balance, I can only say one thing for sure. As a woman, you have to be true to yourself. There is no one solution that fits us all. There is no one answer that fits us all. You have to look at your situation and be true to yourself of who you are and who you want to be. And as an example, when I was ready to have my children, I'm a mother of two young adults, boys. I made a personal decision to step out of the corporate world and step into motherhood and wife, housekeeper, completely 24/7, 100%. That was a personal choice. And it does not mean that's what every woman should do, but it fitted me perfectly. And because it was my choice, I was able to excel for a decade and a half in that environment without feeling the pressure of being a homemaker is less than being a CEO. When I felt that my children were older enough, I moved out of, not completely, obviously, I'm still a wife and I'm still a mother, but I was able now to comfortably step back into the corporate world and, more importantly, focus on what is at heart for me, which is service. Service to women and to young people. That is at the core of who I am. I've been able to excel because it's been a passion for me to have my family, to have my corporate world, to have my service to the community. And because it's a passion and it's a choice I made for myself, I have been able to easily navigate these three worlds and merge them and combine them as I felt fit. And that has worked for me. So I would like to encourage women to look at your situation and make decisions that will be positive for you and your loved ones. If you can carry it, then you can excel in it.
Wow. I like the fact that you said if you can carry it, you can excel in it, because most women cannot carry it. That's why they do not excel in it. Now, let's look at the theme that says inclusive, inspire inclusion. Now, how does this theme resonate with issues faced by women in different parts of the world? There are so many challenges when it comes to inclusion, when it comes to governance, when it comes to business, the corporate world, and all of that. How do you think it will resonate with these issues?
Mm-hmm. I love this theme, inspire inclusion, and let me go back. Let me talk about this project that I'm very passionate about, and it covers this theme quite widely. When you introduced me, you did mention the 1 million African girls coding program. You will know, as everybody may know, in terms of data and statistics, we are way behind as women and young girls when it comes to STEM subjects and excelling. The 1 million African girls coding program is intended to bridge the gender digital divide. We are trying to tackle this inclusiveness because currently the girl is left behind. The current gender digital gap between boys and girls is 11%, sorry, 11% as at today. And apparently it's going to take us 113 years to close this gap. Now, you can see the task ahead of us. Yet we are talking about inspiring our young girls to step into this gap so that we are in the process of closing this gap. And we believe that with the technology at hand, we will be able to fasten that closure of that gap. So inclusion for us is ensuring that 1 million African girls learn how to code, because coding is the future.
Yes.
You hear everything now about artificial intelligence going to replace human beings and so on, but who is going to be developing these softwares behind? It is these 1 million African girls plus we are training. But we are also saying, let's train for culture, in the sense that when these girls get through the program, they are going to solve the continent's challenges. Whether our challenges are around food insecurity, climate justice, whether our challenges are around gender-based violence, FGM, early marriages, these young girls will be able to be at the core center of solving these problems. Now, for us, that is inclusivity. That is what we are doing to make sure that the girl child is educated in a way that she can be included in solving the challenges of the continent.
Wow, well said. I like the theme, and I like we've been way ahead when it comes to coding at this point. That's a big project, and of course, I think that's the future. Coding is the future, isn't? Now, I want to ask you one last question before I wrap up the program. How can we ensure that the momentum around the theme inclusiveness continues beyond International Women's Day. You know, it's one thing for us to celebrate the month, March, which we know, but how can we take this beyond and further as women?
I believe that for us women, it comes naturally. The word inclusivity, it comes naturally because by nature we are nurturers. We give birth, we nurture, we protect. So for us, it becomes quite easy and natural to be inclusive. And for example, we talk about a lot about the girl child because we are Commonwealth business women, Africa. So a lot of the programs are around the girl child because she's still way behind. But because of our nurturing nature and this inclusivity, we can never leave the boy child behind. So we have programs that tailor the boy child. We have programs that address positive masculinity, because even when we talk of inclusivity, we are not saying that the women are the ones to rise, leaving the men and the boy child behind. No, we are saying quite the opposite. We are saying the women and the girl child must keep rising. Alongside that, we empower our boy child because this boy child is the future of also the continent. It's half-half. We bring in our male champions because we cannot do it alone. It is not women versus men. No, it is women plus men. Together, we have a brighter future. So inclusivity for me, where I come from, and the Commonwealth Business Women Africa, is we carry the boy child along with us. We bring in the male champions along with us, together with the girl child and the women empowerment. Together, inclusivity will be progression for our continent.
Well said, well said. Thank you so much, Mrs. Nana Wanja. And of course, she is all the way from Kenya. She is an Impact Pan-African leader. She is the Vice President of Commonwealth Business Women Africa. She's currently championing the 1 Million Girls Coding Program being implemented in 22 countries in Africa in partnership with Coders Africa, Safaricom, and Google. She is on a mission to close the gender digital divide. Last year, the Pan-Africa Chamber of Commerce appointed Nana Wanja to head the Chief Gender Office for Africa. Her role involves mainstreaming gender in the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce programs and operations. She is instrumental in the establishment of the Women Entrepreneurship Center across Africa. Nana is passionate about women empowerment through social and economic advancement. She is the founder of Power Women International. Mrs. Nana Wanja, thank you so much for being a part of Insight today.
Thank you.
I am so happy to have you on the program. Thank you so much. I hope I'll be calling you from time to time and you will honor our invitation, hopefully. I know you're very busy individual.
And we look forward to having you at our business forums coming up in London, 11th to 18th of March.
Okay, definitely. I will try my best. I will talk to you about that soon. All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. Nana Wanja. Have an amazing... I know it's evening right now. It's 5 o'clock?
It is.
Okay.
Yes,
have a good day because it's afternoon here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's it on the program Inside Today. Happy International Women's Month. Yes, March is a time to celebrate women. And you heard from Mrs. Nana Wanja. She said something very vital. It's not women bringing down men. It's women bringing men along because we have empathy and we just want to include each and every one of us when it comes to rising at the same time. I am Jumai Manson. Like I said, happy International Women's Month. Have an amazing day ahead. Good afternoon. Bye-bye.